Where are you from, sir?
Nationality?
Yeah, we can go all the way back to the beginning.
That's the most important.
Trinidad.
There we go. My parents are from Trinidad. I was born in New York.
Okay. And, you know, as far as mom and dad, you know, how long were they over there? Were they born over there?
Yeah, they were born there. They were both born there. I think they both came over in their 20s.
Okay.
I think. And they both moved to New York and had their own story there.
Nice. Now, from a spiritual standpoint, especially when we're talking about Trinidad, you know, you hear about like the Sango religion or the 𝗃𝗃𝗿𝗃 and things like that. Were they involved in something like that, or were they more conventional?
More conventional. I think just by like growing up in my household and like understanding Ifa now and seeing little things, I always see my mom do things, so I could tell it was somewhere in our family, in our line, but it probably just wasn't passed down to her.
Yeah.
She was kind of like a rebel, really a wild child. So, like, you know, she was one of those who wouldn't pay attention to religion or anything like that.
Well, you see that generation too. You know, the generation that came before them might have been a little more involved, but you know, there was this like progressive wanting to Americanize a little bit more, especially being that this country has always kind of been seen as a land of opportunity. It's like, let's lose more of our like ethnic origins to kind of fit in,
Yeah,
a little more
prejudiced.
Yeah. So I saw a lot of that even in my family where, you know, like my great grandmother was a spiritist and things like that, but progressively, you know, and my family ended up in New York as well in the beginning. You saw that just trying to Americanize a little more and be a little less, you know, identified ethnically. So I get it. Yeah. What part of New York?
Brooklyn.
Okay.
Brooklyn, yeah.
What part of Brooklyn?
Baby. I was born in Kings County, me myself.
Okay.
The 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 area from my mother.
The floss, as it's known.
And kind of like Flatbush area from my father.
How long were you there? What are your...
I left there when I was like probably like 3 or 4.
Okay.
4 years old. Yeah.
And then where'd you head?
From there we went to my mom and my dad broke up. Then I went with my mother. We went to Colorado. She met a guy that was in the military, and from there it was like a lot of from post to post type, you know. Like I went to school in Germany, stuff like that, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing to touch on. What's it like being a military kid? What do you recall?
Being lonely. Yeah, being lonely. Then I'm already like, I keep to myself as is, so, you know, it was just really lonely. You know? Yeah.
What do you recall about Germany?
I love the snow. The hills and the snow. Like sledding down long, big hills. Like that's one thing I remember about it.
Well, I mean, you looking at yourself as a child of Obatala, that kind of makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah,
like the mountains, the snow caps.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just kind of, you know, the introvertedness, not in like an unhealthy way, but just kind of like having that solitude. Obatala was somebody who, he was overstimulated a lot. Like people would always come to him with problems, or his kids were always doing something left, and he's like, you know, every now and again he would just retreat. So it's interesting that you had those experiences, especially being born in the islands and still kind of going through that, you know. But Miami plays a big role in your life.
Yeah, we ended up in Miami when I was about probably like 12, 13, and from there it was like culture shock.
Yeah.
You know how Miami is. It was Miami.
What was the most shocking thing about it for you?
Violence.
What part are you from?
When I first got down we moved from California, and we moved with my aunt, and she stayed off of 121st and 17th. Lakeside area by Westview. Yeah. Yeah, so I went to Westview. That was my first school I went to. Yeah. And that shit was lit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was lit.
You know, it's a little under 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. And the home of the cars, right? You know what I'm saying? A lot of cars go missing over there, especially in that time period. I would imagine that you went over there. You know, what do you recall seeing as a young man? You know, 12 years old.
It was just a lot of fights, man. Like then I started hanging with. There was a lot of being clicked up for the wrong reasons. Yeah, you know what I mean. And like you said, it's just like, I guess my mom them came from Trinidad to the States. I felt the same way. I had to fit in because I'm an Army brat. Yeah. You know, and I'm not used to all of that. So I had to fit into that, and from there it was just downhill. Yeah. You know, I just followed all the wrong things, like a lot of cliques, gangs, stuff like that. So.
And I remember, you know, I was a little bit younger, but I remember my uncles and things like that, and just kind of recognizing there wasn't necessarily like nations and power groups. It was more like neighborhoods and things like that, if I recall. And that had to be a huge shock because when you go from like military, you know, organization, protocol, and things like that, and then you're thrust into basically the street or that culture, there's aspects of it that are similar, and then there's aspects that are very different.
When I was younger, it was a little rough. When I got older, the benefit of being raised in the military environment, you know, that it helped me, it groomed me, you know, because I was already very disciplined, I understood hierarchy, and never mind being a part of a hierarchy, and you know, fortunately, I was always at the top of the hierarchy, so it did help out. You know, it gave me I had a huge advantage from everybody that was around me because I did a lot of traveling. I seen a lot. I heard a lot. You know, not only that, while I'm traveling through that, I'm still going to New York, Trinidad, little stuff like that. So you know, I was pretty much well traveled, put it like that. By the time I was 12.
I make that a focal point with my children as well, and I talk about it with my wife. I think the two quickest ways to grow in intelligence and logic is by eating and by traveling.
Yeah.
I think with those two things, because you look at people that came before us, you look at people that came before us and just having those experiences, and you learn so much about other people. I think another advantage you might have had was the structure.
Yeah.
Because in places like that, there isn't a lot. You know, you really don't know what you're going to do when you leave your house. You don't know what's going to be waiting for you. Every day is kind of like a mystery. Yeah. Like what's going to happen today, you know.
Anxiety.
Definitely.
Every morning's anxiety.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I remember just being back in Dade and just hearing, you know, this person was sitting in their living room and, you know, a bullet went through their door, or, you know, nonsense like that. It keeps everybody on edge, and it can make for a very toxic environment, you know. So 12 years old, you're growing, you're traveling, you're in this area now, Northwest, you know. How did, you know, not necessarily specifics, but, you know, incarceration and things like that. How old were you when you went in?
Well, from Westview, I went from there to Jam Man Opportunity. The op, I went there, dropped out of school from there, and I was pretty much, you know, doing what everybody does when they're growing up in the streets. Yeah. You know, I ain't gonna glorify nothing or act like, you know.
Yeah, no.
So from there, I don't know, man. Again, just being around the crowd that we attract when we in our environment in Miami and stuff like that, you know, that led to me doing robbing, you know, doing whatever drugs was popular at the time, you know, doing whatever I got to do to survive being young, you know. And then got in a little trouble. We did a string of robberies down here, and we ended up going on the run to Georgia. And when I went on the run to Georgia, one of the guys that was with me, he actually went up there and committed a robbery, and me and probably like 4 other people got locked up for the same robbery with him. Party to the crime of armed robbery. I did like 6-7 years off of that. Yeah. You know, that was my first bid when I was 24, 25, something like that. Yeah.
25 years old, you know, very different environment, but now you're coming into prison. What thoughts are going through your mind now?
Survival. I mean, what do you think? You know, you got the stories that you hear, but you know, I wasn't a chump, put it like that. So I'm up for the challenge at the same time. Yeah. You don't know, put it like that. Yeah. But again, the military prison is the military. Yeah. It's a program. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I was already familiar with the program. You know, and I'm really good at psychology and people and reading people, and so you know, I'm a quiet dude. You know, but I got my power too. So you know what I mean, like. It was easy. Prison wasn't really a tough thing for me. It was just being away from my family. By the time I went to prison, I had 7, 8 kids at the age of 25, so that was the hardest thing. Sure. You know what I mean? Just leaving my kids and my family behind and trying to figure it out. But it wasn't nothing. It wasn't no big deal. Nothing to talk about. Yeah.
It's a really interesting dynamic because you look at an Orisha like Obatala, right? And a lot of people don't focus on the aspect of Obatala where he is actually the judge. He's the guy who owns the prison. He is the state to a certain degree. And I've noticed that, you know, at least the brothers I've interacted with, some of his sons, they've gone through situations like that. And it's been very ironic because they all tell me that, you know, they were able to learn a lot. They learned a lot about themselves. You know, them being family men, most children, especially the men of Obatala, they're very focused on their children and the home and things like that. It's definitely an interesting dynamic to see that, you know, having that Orisha and going through that experience, sometimes or somehow it correlates somehow in, you know.
Yeah. I could see, now I'm kind of knowing Obatala, studying Obatala, I could see how during times of distress, that white cloth protected me and kept me cool and kept me calm and kept situations around me calm. You know, I wasn't really never in a destructive situation, but I was always in the worst prison camps.
Yeah.
Always the worst prison camps, you know, but just never was destructive around me.
Which one do you think was the most impressive? You know what I'm saying? Which one was the one that stuck with you the most? Like, wow, this camp is off the chain.
When I went to Florida, when I did time, that shit was different.
Yeah, they stayed the state correction system here because
different.
Yeah, one of the guys that raised me actually did some time, and he says Florida is just, especially when COVID hit, he saw people, you know,
I was just getting out. Right?
Really?
COVID. Yeah, thank God.
He said people were dropping like flies.
Trust me, I'm in tune in there on things that you hear.
Yeah.
It's sad, man. It's sickening.
He said he was waking up next to people, they were gone. Like, they had a conversation the night before. You wake up the next day, like, you know, that person's gone.
And it was short of staff. So if you got a prison that's short of staff, these guys in their cells all day, in the dorms all day.
Breathing each other's air.
Like, man, it's a really sick environment.
Yeah.
You know? I think one of the prisons, actually I think several of the prisons, National Guard ended up having to come inside the prisons to kind of help because it was short staff.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it got to that point, you know. It's crazy.
Now, you having gone through that process or seeing what the effects were going to be, do you honestly think that there's any way that there is going to be the reform to the point where we can avoid things like that in the future, having gone through it?
What do you mean?
Like, is there actually going to be a change at some point, realistically, in your ID?
Change come when people want change, when the masses want change. Change, like, you know, it's a lot of things you may want change, but it's a small collective few that's putting forth the effort for that change. You're not really going to make an effect. You know what I mean? Unless you're just a really dynamic spirit or a really dynamic being, you know. Other than that, change happens when it's a collective. Like right now in prison, I got a brother of mine. You heard about Rosewood?
I want to say, yeah.
We discussed that Rosewood Massacre happened like 100 years ago. And I ended up with bumping into one of the descendants of Rosewood. And this guy's like, but he's really, really about law. Yeah. And making change because of the things that happen in his family.
You got whole lawyers inside. You got guys that study law and there's, you know, prison lawyers,
Brilliant lawyer. So one of the things that we're trying to work on now is actually making that change. You know what I mean? Like bringing changes to the prison system. Thank Lord, I think he's supposed to get home in 2 months.
Wow.
You know, I really can't wait. He's been gone 30 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And like no trouble in 30 years. Just stay focused, stay inside, stay out the way, study law.
He's an encyclopedia at this point.
Like that man, brilliant. You know, so.
For those of us that aren't aware, what was the Rosewood Massacre? If you could educate us a little bit.
It was 100 years ago. It was a story. It was a movie about it. John Singleton actually put the movie out.
Wow.
Ving Rhames played in it.
Oh my God.
It's a popular movie.
Amazing.
So it's a town close to Gainesville.
Okay.
And you know, no prejudice, but basically, obviously, this was a racially motivated massacre.
Yeah, especially back then. Yeah.
I don't really want to come off like, you know, because I'm not.
But history is history.
This is history.
Can't ignore it.
Clarify that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, a lady got raped. A white lady got raped, and she said it was a black guy. Ended up going to one of the prominent families of Rosewood, which is actually the guy I'm talking about. This is his family. His grandmother. His grandmother was actually the youngest survivor of this massacre. So, long story short, they went and approached them. It really wasn't them. They threatened them. They threatened their lives. His family stood up. They ended up, you know, shooting into the house, killing his grandma, or the great grandmother, or great grandmother.
Jesus.
Killed her and one of his uncles. And then from there, it just started. That was the revolt. And I think it lasted like a week or two. Like they wiped out Rosewood. They killed several people, took their land, ran them out of there. You know what I mean? It's bad. You know, it was crazy.
It's a crime.
Yeah. So I know Jeb Bush recognized them about, if I'm not mistaken, like 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Recognized the situation because it was really hidden and gave them, you know, some retribution.
Yeah.
For it, you know, so it's on the records.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
And sometimes, I mean, people like to focus on economics. People who go through things like that, they're not worried about money. Mm-hmm. They're worried about recognition. Mm-hmm. They're worried about, you know, having that closure of, hey, we went through this and you guys are acknowledging what you did to us. Mm-hmm. You know, because that's a lot of pain. Yeah. And you look at a demographic and you wonder, well, why are we exhibiting, you know, said behaviors, or why are we so frustrated? It's because things like that occurred and no one wants to acknowledge.
And still occurring.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, still occurring. Thank God. That's the only good thing about these phones.
Yeah.
We're able to
see more.
And get more outreach. You know, from back then, like that story was hidden for years, like 80 years.
Yeah, it's a travesty. Yeah.
I never even heard of it.
Yeah, man.
Just
now.
Well, that's a short for sure.
Yeah, look it up, man. It's a good story, man. Like, and the movies are awesome.
Yeah, I'm reading about it right now.
It's so crazy. Like the movie was one of my favorite movies.
No, amazing director and amazing actor.
Even
I love Ving.
Before I went in, I caught the movie even.
Yeah.
So when I met this guy, I was like, yo, who? You know what I mean? He pulled out everything had to pull out. Like, damn,
that's incredible.
Put out his family documentations, the obituary, the Minley Langley. That's the baby that was inside the film, the youngest one, and he's her hair. I mean her ear. So yeah, I was like, damn, and we just stood like that. We've been building ever since on a very solid level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, solid stuff, you know.
Yeah. Did you find spirituality inside, or were you already feeling spiritual before you went in?
I needed spirituality when I went inside, man. It's like I didn't. Not even that I found it. I needed it, so I was looking for something. So I started following Hebrew Israelite.
Okay.
I mean, so I did that, and again, these things they helped me along my way, my walk, because in that the most important thing was doing discourse. And Hebrew they break down the root of things, the root of words. So it's not, we understood that, okay, the things that we say now meant something different when the Bible came out, for instance. So you have to look up what it meant then to understand what this verse means.
Yeah.
All right, so like that's what it was. And then I came home from prison, on that. And the girl I'm with now, she used to have all her lecades on. I'm like, yo, take that shit off, man. You like, what you got going on? I'm preaching my sermon to her. Just somehow, man, we went to a botanica off of in Carol City, somewhere in Carol City in Miami Gardens, whatever they call it now.
We know it is Carol City. It's the Gardens now.
We went to a botanica, man. There was a Ogun statue. I still got it. I seen it and I bought it. And from there, I started doing research and Ifa, nothing else.
So I actually have a godson who was inside, and he went through the same process where he started with the Israelite route, and he started just investigating at that point and delving, which obviously those brothers have good habits because it instilled it in him, like it seems they instilled it in you.
If you take it serious.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like he said, you got to use the time as well. You know what I'm saying? You have to find something to focus on and make it as productive as possible. Like your friend, the lawyer, the guy who's gone through all that. So what was that first experience like? Did it lead to a reading, or are we being rushed into the hand of Ifa? Like what came from that visit?
She really okay. So once I kept trying to make her remove her 𝗃𝗍𝗄𝗃, she started explaining the spiritual essence of what it meant to her. Yeah. So through that, I think the guy, she knew the guy whose shop it was. Okay. And found out he was a Babalawo and got into explaining the whole get you a reading. I always heard readings and stuff growing up. My mother and my aunts, they done it. Like, they Trinities, they done it. Yeah. So out of curiosity, I'm like, okay. Did the reading, went to one guy, and at that point, I'm just going from place to place to place because I'm hungry. I'm one of them guys that I don't like to wait. Sure. You know what I mean? I don't wait on intel. Information is the most important thing to me ever. So when I'm a part of something or something, I'm driven by something, like I need to know. I have a thirst for it. And I don't know if it was fortunate or unfortunate, I wasn't a dude that was hurting for money. So you already know. Like it was just
whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes, whoever it takes. Man, I went through Baba to Baba. Yeah. But throughout the way I just kept I was learning, but I never found a Baba that would teach me. Yes. All the works was getting done. I got every saint that I needed. Deity, I got it. Like I got out the way quick. But I don't understand it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So thankful for one of the Baba that introduced me to my Awo now. Yeah. He was like me. He was a really good Babalawo when I went there to get my issue for 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗁. Yes, sir. You know what I mean? And when I met him, he studied at 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗁, and from there, I kind of like my Baba passed me like, hey man, it's a good guy. He's a really strong Babalawo. You know what I mean? He gave me his blessings, and I've been studying with this guy's family ever since. You know what I mean? And just them and their family, just not only being a Babalawo, but they show you how family. I really get the essence of how Ifa's supposed to be.
Ifa's family.
You know what I mean? It's like this is his personal family. Everybody, like grandfather, like his wife, his kids are Babalawos. It's like when I say it's a pleasure to learn with them, it's a pleasure. You know, so it's been a good walk.
That's a good situation to be in, because you see a lot of that now, where especially where the religion's going through like this fury, where so many people are getting in, and you see people getting deities and all these other things. But the real differential is the knowledge, the tutelage, the understanding, and that's what really separates one from the other. And the most key thing is understanding what you have, because I know brothers that have everything, right? But they might not even know how to throw obi. So you have this amazing thing right there, but you don't even know how to interact with it or communicate with it.
I haven't known how to throw obi yet.
It's a process.
But that's the thing I love about my Babalawo as well. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, you're not there yet.
Yeah.
Learn these things.
Yes.
You know what I mean? When you come and you show me, you got, like, I've been a Babalawo. I got to 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗏 2.5 years ago. And it took me forever. Like, I'm such on the go.
Yeah.
I never really stopped to study, or I don't want to say I didn't take it seriously, because I always took it seriously. I always was close to my items.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I never really had the knowledge, but I never stopped to learn. So probably like 6 months ago, man, I stopped doing everything.
Yeah.
When I said I put everything down, if I said, yo, Ifa only, and I listen, and I drive an hour every day and back.
Yeah.
Go sit at his house for 7 hours, study. If we don't study, I'm there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whatever's going on, I'm involved.
Yeah.
Now I'm starting to learn. You know what I mean? I'm spitting 𝗃𝗵𝗿𝗏. I'm doing, I know 𝘃𝗶𝗿𝗏𝗏. I know, like, I'm learning the language.
Yeah.
You know, little different things. Like, you know, my mind is collecting them now.
Yeah.
So, you know, at first I was like, yo, I need to know how to do this, and I want to know how to do this. But you screaming like, yo, you're not ready. I'm not going to argue with, like, you my Baba, I understand you my sensei, you my father in this. Okay, I'm not ready. You know what I mean? And I respect that. I take my time, and I just, like, you know, I grow. But it helps me to appreciate more what's going on.
Yeah. Especially when you come out of the room, I don't think anybody, no matter how much you've been around this, can fully grasp the magnitude of the course load that comes with this. Because you look at a process like obi and you'll be like, oh, that looks simple. But then when you go, like, before, you're like, all right, the history of obi, the methodology, how to actually throw it, all the different odus that can come out. How do you react to them? And then it's like, oh, now I got to sit down.
The meaning behind it, the essence behind it.
That's why Ifa is patience, because you look at, you know, gentlemen that, you know, like your godfather, like people that have been able to establish homes and spiritual followings and things like that, the amount of time, study, and effort that goes into really going into that position, you know, and it's like you said, it does create that appreciation that much more. So was Obatala on your radar? Was he somebody that you were so you were an Ogun guy?
Ogun. But, you know, I think through my own little experiences that I've had, it's kind of personal, so I'm going to keep that to myself.
Sure.
Like my grandfather is heavily associated with Ogun.
Okay.
So, you know, that's why I think I have a strong pull to Ogun. Yeah. You know, and anything having to do with Sango, I beef with it.
Yeah.
Heavy. Like, just, I don't even know why.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But my father is Obatala, that's the head, you know. And
it makes sense, because Obatala was Ogun's father. So you kind of look at that, you know, ideology. He's almost like a brother-like spirit to you. Yeah. And then you look at your Odu of 𝗃𝗏𝗏 Meji. Ogun is one of the focal points there. Yeah. I mean, in that sign, he constructed the knife. He inserted iron into the white blood cells to create the hemoglobin. You know, and you look at all these different things. Yeah, he's Ogun. When you look at your Odu of 𝗃𝗏𝗏 Meji, there's a pataki that speaks of when human beings, you know, we had an immune system, you know, we had leukocytes, or all these white blood cells, but, you know, they had no strength. You know, they were just living. They were breathing. They weren't living. So they visited Orumela and said, hey, we're weak. We can't get anything done. We can't defend ourselves against these lions and tigers. Like, what do we do here? Where they recommended, you know, offerings to Ogun, and Ogun actually gifted them iron into their blood cells. And it created the hemoglobin, you know, and then we became hunters. We became carnivores. You know, Sameji is the famous sign where we went from agriculturalists to hunters, you know. So then you look at your affinity for Ogun, that affinity was actually born in your Odu, you know. So what was your reaction obviously with an Odu like 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗶 and the hand of Ifa, of course the recommendation was made for Ifa. What was your reaction when they're like, hey, you could be a 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, you should be a 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏? What were you thinking?
Didn't understand it. Yeah. I was proud of it. I know it was a part of something new. My spirit felt it, but I didn't understand it. Yeah. I read, didn't understand. Be honest, man. Like, yo, you was one of my first teachers.
Thank you, sir.
No cap. You know, I have witnesses. You were one of my first teachers.
Shout out to them too.
Even to this day, when I want somebody to get a good understanding of Ifa, that's a beginner, I always send one of your videos because you take the time. Like I heard you say it the other day and somebody was watching. I don't just talk. I mean, I speak through the pataki.
Yeah.
This is what the scripts say.
Yes, sir.
So you cannot come to me and that's a good teacher. That's a good place to get information and get a source from. Yeah. So you was one of my first, as I was going through all those things. Even now, you're still a good teacher because I look at you every day.
Thank you.
But I didn't understand 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗏. I think it was another brother. What's his name? Start with an R. He was on your show, something. Man.
Oh man, he's gonna hate me for not remembering right now off of the R.
He's another one. He's another one that he had a segment on 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗏, and that helped me understand 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗏.
Oh gosh.
Damn, is it the Rigo? I forgot.
Phil, any ideas of who that was with the R?
I'm gonna pull it up for you.
On one of our episodes?
Yes, sir.
No, we don't put no more disrespect. I'm gonna look it up.
I can't remember. Yeah.
Give him his respect. We can keep going. Wow.
Yeah, no, definitely. And but yeah, there's a lot of good people out there. And the beautiful thing about Ifa is that the stigma of learning and teaching is kind of going away now, where we're able to talk about things that are going to enrich everybody's knowledge, but at the same time not disrespect our ancestors and our traditions.
Yeah.
So that's really the key.
No one is really I don't want to say no one, but it's rare to find practitioners to really take the time to study because it's so overwhelming, man. That it's the translation.
Oh yeah, from 3 languages, because when you got the English to Yoruba, then the Spanish, and then you throw Cuban Spanish in there too, it's just ridiculous. A whole different language.
My Baba don't speak English.
There you go.
But I understand them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I understand them. Yeah. We speak the language of men.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I understand them, but it's still hard because I know when the group is around and they're speaking, I don't get to hear the stories that's important. You the campfire story.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? That of which you pass on to others.
Yeah.
I miss those stories out of not understanding the language.
Yeah.
I don't let it frustrate me though.
Yeah. No, it's like you said, we speak the language of men, the language of the heart, and the right things do fall into context.
Yeah.
So when you went to actually do Ifa and you come with an Odu, like the one you came with, what was kind of everybody's reaction? I mean, because your Odu comes with a lot of grandeur.
That, it coincides with me 1,000. For I'm a Gemini, so
yeah.
The Meji, that's all for real.
The twin, yeah.
No disrespect to nobody, but me and women have an attachment.
There you go.
A huge attachment, bro. So it was like, okay, yeah. So everything that goes on in my life, like, the more I learn about what's Meji and respecting,
oh, yeah.
I understand, like, this is where a lot of my trouble has come from in my life, but I've also gotten so many blessings out of my life because of the Yami around me, the women around me, So, like, yeah, I can understand why this is my sign. I could feel like this is my destined path. It clicks and it clacks,
Well, it's like I've always told you since I met you, your Odu is one of my favorites. It's one of the ones, especially within the Mejis, that I enjoyed studying so much. And we actually just recently came out with a video on the 𝗀𝗏𝗏.
Yeah, I watched it.
And, it got a wonderful response. We're definitely going to, I can't just say I'm going to make a part 2 on that one.
You already said it.
I have to now.
You already said it.
And there's so much more to go into, but really the majority of the mysteries are in your Odu. And I think, especially being, Afro-Caribbean men, descendants of that culture, I think the feminine aspect of our being gets lost in context sometimes, because we're so macho and there's so much testosterone where we come from and whatnot. It's with time and maturity that we begin to realize how important it is to make that other half so happy, whether it's our wives, whether it's our mothers, whether it's our daughters, and understand that they really facilitate everything for us to be men. When God created us and he gave us all this muscle and all this testosterone and ability, it really was balanced out by them allowing us to do that, because it's like right now, at least in my case during this interview or whomever, I'm able to do this because my wife has my utmost confidence. She's taking care of my daughter. She's taking care of my home. And I think in this culture now, that's seen as like a subsidiary, like that's secondary. When in reality, that's the
most important.
That's the priority, you know. So you know, you being a father of so many women, you having a relationship and all these other things. What advice, based on your 𝗀𝗲𝗍, do you think you can give to a brother who is not being guided to recognize how important that sacred feminine is within our fraternity?
All men. I would definitely. My recommendation is to be careful. Like, for real, be careful, because sometimes we know not what we do and what we say and who we hurt. And, you know, when that hurt come back on us, you know, that karma, then they call karma.
We don't handle it as well.
We don't handle it as well, but we don't really understand it either.
Yeah.
We don't understand it, you know, because this is the part of our life structure that was hidden from us, it took it from us. Or, you know, Ifa, what's an Ifa? Like, I hear that so much, what's an Ifa? I used to get really offended. What you mean was Ifa? I feel like everybody should know what Ifa is.
Yeah.
You know? But these are the stories that's outside the other stories that's sugar-coated, that's really letting you know, like, yo, bro, this is what this is, and this is what this is. This energy holds this.
The root.
So, yo, be respectful as much as you can to women, because I know it's a time where women are even, I don't want to say more ratchet than we used to be, but pretty much.
Yeah, it's a different time.
Yeah,
It's
they
a
got
different
it.
time.
They got the rock right now.
Yeah, as they, you know, and they, to be honest with you, they kind of always have, especially when you look at Ifa being a divine feminine religion. You know, how much of a benefit now with this current relationship, your partner being a practitioner, how much of a benefit has that provided you, especially being a Babalawo now and trying to lead this spiritual life, you know?
She's a great benefit, because she, I don't want to say without her, I wouldn't have been led to it, because it was destined, but she was the one that was put in the path that led me there. And, like, for the first few years, just watching her, because I'm not a praying guy. I'm not a guy that speaks out loud to any entities that I can't see. That's not me. So to watch her say her prayers and do her things, and just me knowing, you know, her secrets in itself and how powerful she is, I know this shit real. I know it's real because of what I see. You know what I mean? I'm not a guy that just go brag and talk, and nah. What I see, and I can say, I witnessed that. That's what I stand on. I witness a lot dealing with the one I'm with. You know what I mean? So, yo, she's the woman. She's the woman, man. She's the woman.
It's a beautiful support system. I think that's the greatest benefit. Since I got with my wife, there's a big difference between somebody just respecting and then somebody motivating you towards it, where it's like, hey, you have this pending at 𝗀𝗶𝗸𝗏, or hey, weren't you supposed to receive this, or hey, aren't you supposed to pray this? It keeps us on point, and that's really what the role of 𝗿𝗏𝗍𝗍 was. It was really the person who kept the Babalawo in check, really, to be honest with you. So, how satisfying has it been to be able to introduce your children to Ifa?
Very satisfying. The ones who actually follow. I think my biggest pride is my youngest daughter.
Yeah.
She's 3 now. And she wakes up, Daddy, Ifa. She wants to go ahead, because I make her feed her Ifa daily.
Nice.
I make her, you know, interact with her 𝘄cie daily. She's 𝘄cie.
Nice.
So, yeah, man. My son, he's a little bit older, and he's everywhere. You know what I mean? So
how old is he?
He is 23, 24, 23, 24. Right?
Yeah, he's getting there.
Yeah. So he doesn't really, I don't want to say he doesn't take it serious, but he's moving.
Yeah,
You know
he's trying to get his life together now,
right yeah. So, you know, he doesn't take it as serious as I would like him to. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think we're blessed a little bit. As we get a little older, we have a little more time on our hands, and you know, even at that age, some people mature quicker than others, but that's around when life starts getting serious. Yeah, by the age of 25.
It's kind of new to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, it's new to him. I just got I just got really put on, so, you know, I put him on. It's new to me.
Yeah.
You can imagine how new it is to them.
And I think that's the biggest thing, is just the legacy you're leaving to them and ultimately behind them, you know, very far in the future, but just to be able to give them a culture. I've noticed that, and I think in very little amount of time I've had on earth, that the greatest inheritance we will leave to our children is our culture.
Right.
And to be able to be back in contact with our true culture, you know, the history of man, you know, which is, Ifa was right there at the dawn of it all. I don't think there's any greater gift, because regardless of whether they realize it right now or in 20 years, they'll be like, wow, Dad taught me who I was.
Right.
You know, and I tell you, there's certain experiences you go through in manhood and adulthood, where that's really the only answer you're looking for, whether, God forbid, you're incarcerated or you're homeless or whatever's going on. You just want to always remember who you are.
Right.
And I think if you remember who you are, you'll never fully get lost to the point where you can't find that promised land or situation. And how do you think Ifa would have changed your life if you had gotten it back then, 12 years old, when you moved to Miami?
Bro, big time, man. Just me being who I am, I gravitate to what I believe in.
Yeah.
I mean, at that time, I didn't have anything to gravitate to. So the only thing I was able to gravitate to was my environment, which, of course, you know how that is. And I'm that product of that environment. Me right now, I'm 46. I just turned 46 a couple of days ago.
Bless.
And it's hard now, even trying to keep focus with it. And, you know what I mean? It's difficult. But I do, like, not even my mom, not even just introducing my kids, my mother, I've introduced her, my aunt. She just got her 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗏.
Oh my God!
You know
wow.
what I mean? So like that, even the elders around me, introducing them into it and giving them position inside of in our home. Like, this is what we need to do for for the ones younger than us. So it's to be that one is cool.
Yeah, you were cool. Chosen. You were elected within your bloodline to really create that reconnection. And it's a pretty grandiose thing when you have the chance to kind of sit back and reflect on it, because you got to think 1,000 years ago, there was a Babalawo in your family or mine, right? And to go that long without 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗏 being within the home, and then to be the one to be like, I'm bringing it back. It's like Prometheus with fire. It's like you came down from the mountain and you gave us vision, you gave us light. And it's something that from clan to clan, household to household, it'll never be forgotten.
It's a hell of a responsibility because, I mean, like, 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗏 is a big thing.
It's everything.
When you just out there, just taking drugs, just drinking, partying, and boom, here goes Ifa, and you have to take, you have to take this seriously, and you begin to take it seriously. Now you have the struggles of changing who you are. Who you've been for years. It's difficult, but it's a big responsibility to understand that, I have to do this because I have to practice what I preach. I have others looking at me, and I want them to follow me. Obviously, if I'm a Babalawo, I'm a father, and I have to be able to give them what they need, not just say, like, do this, and I'm doing something totally different, So it's a big responsibility.
No, I think about that a lot when you're an example or you're in the public eye or even just in front of your family. Kids tend to do what they see, not what they hear.
Right.
So it's very important to act a certain way and say very little to a certain degree in front of them, because, you always want them to see our good side and what's helping us elevate. And, you mentioned how much of an impact Ifa would have had on you at that age. I look around and, the situation outside right now. You look at the streets, you look at the youth, especially with social media and things like that. It's pretty scary. To be a teenager right now, I wouldn't want to be, because there's just so many influences. And you see when people, unfortunately, go down that wrong path, you wonder, this young man, who's going to prison, 18 years old, or this young lady who's doing things that, aren't conventional. Imagine if they had Ifa.
Right.
Imagine if they had something to focus on and feel like they were a part of without all the negatives that come with it. Because there's a bunch of groups outside that they'll be like, yeah, you can be a part of us, but you're risking your life every time you come out with us. You know what I'm saying? So I think that would just change everything.
Even like you, for instance, like just the little that I do know from watching your podcast. I know you've been following, studying Ifa since you was like 8, correct?
Yeah, young, very, very, a boy.
We've been grew up in the same environment.
Yeah.
I can see just listening to you speak, listening to your sermon, like, your stuff, and this comes from a long years and years and years of you being dedicated to something, having something that you could actually go to, in a very negative environment.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Our environment was horrible. Like, it was negative.
Yeah, I think, when I caught Miami in the 90s, maybe you a little bit before then, it was wild. And then you think about New York and just those kind of environments, you think, I look back, I think Ifa was the only thing that kept us wholesome or kept us around, and I give a lot of homage and a lot of, grace to my uncles and people that were doing a bunch of other things but didn't want that for me. So they were like, read, stay home, play video games, when I'm seeing things very differently happening outside. But, I thank them, because learning from their mistakes and their sacrifices, I'm able to sit here today without having to go through all the experiences they went through. Because I think that's another big thing is understanding that, especially in that environment, you don't have to go to prison to be a man. You don't have to commit a crime. You don't have to. You can be a regular 9-to-5 educated somebody, and it's okay. So I think a lot of young men and women are going through that frustration right now, especially when you look on Instagram and all these different things, and you see people committing crime on a video. And, you know,
it's so crazy, bro. You got people.
It's a wild time.
They're competing.
People used to say nothing. Now people say everything.
Bro, it's like, really, you just really came on here and told on yourself.
Yeah.
And then you have another guy that's gonna compete with 10 on yourself because you just telling yourself because you want more bodies and like it's just different. You know?
But what that tells me is that they have nowhere where they feel accepted. They have nowhere where they feel recognized. Like, you know, my daughter uses the bathroom and we have a party. You know what I'm saying? She's 2.5 years old. She's potty training. Like, it's like a celebration. If I had a bottle of champagne, I'd pop it. But you have to, with the kids, you have to celebrate everything they do, every drawing, every potty experience, everything. Because without it, I mean, where else are they going to get that confirmation?
You got to build that. You have to build. You have to allow them to build that confidence.
But it's like, yeah, when you see on social media, you see the kids, you know, and it makes you wonder that they're not getting any confirmations or recognition from anywhere at home, which is really where it starts.
Even the adults.
Adults looking for,
following kids. It's crazy. We have adults following kids now.
Yeah, trying to get involved in things that, you know, most people have done by the time they're early 20s, you know, when you look at certain culture and things like people involved in some power groups, and you got guys now that are 30 that are trying to get involved. You got kids that have been doing, you know, things outside since they were 6, 8. It's, you know, that chapter is past. But what worries me is that feeling of need, like, no, I have to do this to find that confirmation. And you see it within our fraternity as well. You know, I'll never forget when I went to do Ifa, my god brother, 𝗵𝗸𝗿𝗄𝗏, really knowledgeable guy. He told me, he said, you know, and he asked me very frankly, he said, you know, and I was young, I was 22, 23 when I hopped, and he said, are you a man? Are you an adult? I think was a better way he asked it. He said, are you an adult? I said, yes. He said, I'm happy you answered that way, because the problem with our fraternity now is there's so many men trying to confirm their masculinity within our fraternity, where Ifa doesn't make you a man. You have to be a man before you get here. Ifa makes you a better man. And I remember when he said that to me, I kind of was like, man, am I ready for this? You know, they're already taking me into the room tomorrow. I'm like, I better be ready, you know, because I'm surrounded by all these beasts, you know. Tattoos, what do they represent to you? What did they give you at those moments of life when you felt like you needed them?
Me, these tattoos, when I first started getting tattoos, this was my first bid in Georgia.
Do you remember your first?
Yeah, my first tattoo, no. I think my first tattoo was a pick and poke.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But yeah, but when I started, I guess it was just because that's the environment that I was in. So I was seeing everybody else with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was, again, trying to fit into something.
Trying to blend.
Right. Trying to blend, didn't understand who I was at the time, you know? And then from there, it just became, I think it became intoxicating because there's a lot of pain in prison, and it always gave me an escape. You know what I mean? I don't want to say I'm a pain freak, but I guess probably, you know, I'm switching this pain for this pain. You know? So I guess that was it until it just became a thing. Like, I don't even know what the hell I got on me now, man. I don't even call these tattoos. They're scars.
I love it.
You know what I mean? I just run. I have people done things on me that didn't know how to tattoo.
Yeah.
Here goes a guy that tried to fix this. And
just passing the time.
Bro, it's just passing time. I just got a bunch of flicking ink now.
But I love that though, because you wear it with pride, and you know, I think it's a remembrance of your situation and all that you've been through. You're not hiding anything. Like, hey, these are my mistakes, whether it's my ink or whether it's, you know, what I've done and what I've been able to overcome. I think that's huge, and it says quite a bit. I remember when I was at the marketplace, and you ran up on me and we hugged. I was a little nervous, not because of anything. I'm like, do I owe this guy money, right? No, yeah. But you know, it just I was so keen on having you on here because I think you are the embodiment of what Ifa is, and what I mean by that is the growth. You know what I'm saying? I love to see brothers that, you know, start in one place and end up here, because a gentleman such as yourself, I think, could teach more to a client or to a godson than somebody who ate the book. The reason I say that is because Ifa is experience. Like, anybody could sit here and read a story and, you know, say something and say it back. But when you could talk and say, hey, I made these mistakes, I fulfilled my debt with society, I'm here to bring truth to you. and not act like I'm any better than you. I'm just gonna be the person that's gonna help you understand this a little better. To me, it made all the sense in the world.
Even in my prison sentences, man, I'm not a demon. I'm not. You know, I just followed the wrong people, and I engaged myself with the wrong things. You know, I mean, I have a lot to offer. I've always had a lot to offer. I got a brain, have a good brain. You know, I know how to articulate. You know, stuff like that. Again, when I didn't have a platform, my platform was the negative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I became a leader at that. You know, my mom always said, yo, you a leader. Lead people the right way. Yeah. She been telling me that since I was young. You know, since I was young. Always have a bunch of people around me. Always. And whatever I'm doing, they're doing. You know, like even now that I'm in Ifa, you know, she gets mad at me a lot. Like, yo, you introduce it too much, but it saves me. It's helping me. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to pass somebody else on that baton. Like, yo, this might help you, bro. And as a community, we can help others. You know, but, you know, Ifa has such a negative connotation to a lot of people that is ignorant to what Ifa is.
Yes.
So, you know, as I study, I find myself just speaking up for Ifa more and more. Like, yo, you don't understand Ifa. Oh, yeah, you know, I know Ifa. No, you've heard of Ifa. You don't understand Ifa. Oh, man. You don't understand Ifa. You're not reading. You're not studying. You don't know half of what Ifa is and what it could do for you. You know what I mean? I listen to the troubles. Just in my house alone, you know, I rent rooms in my house. I just be in my room to do my thing, studying quietly. So I hear everything. I hear all the conversations. I'd be like, damn. You know what I mean? If I could get them to understand what this is, but then I don't want to force nobody to do what I'm doing.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? Because like, yo, I'm doing me, or I'm this, or I'm that. Oh, okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's a double-edged sword to know you have this knowledge and you have this strength, but at the same time, you know, I heard people using it because they don't understand it.
That's why I admired 𝗃𝗏𝗏 so much, because he never felt the need to proselytize. He never felt the need to have the missionary cape on. And it's like we go through it because, you know, when you're in contact with this knowledge and you know how beneficial it can be and how miraculous it is, you want to shove it down people's throat. Like, please do this so your life can be better. But until they're ready to be better, they will never come to terms with that. Right. It might be in the next life. And to us, you know, possibly, luckily, having 100 years here, it's like, man, you're really going to wait a whole nother lifetime to, you know, drink from this well. But some people, it takes that long, you know?
The type of stuff that's been coming across to me lately, I see it ain't for everybody now. You know, like, my will just started giving me, like, really deep things to read. I'm like, I can't understand this. I got to put this in my pocket.
Yeah.
I understand how it could be detrimental to me if the wrong individual with the wrong mindset gets a hold of something like this.
Oh yeah, it's diabolical. Yeah, and people like to look at Ifa and think it's all, you know, cotton candy. Ifa is one of the most destructive things because, you know, when people think that, unfortunately, due to stigma, they think either, you know, mayombe or, you know, just black-handed work or whatever. Ifa has some of the most diabolical work you could think of, unfortunately. You know, when you really delve in and you look at the book, it's like, wow, you know, we could accomplish that. But I think those things are in place so that 𝘃𝗍𝗄 can gauge us, because for there to be good, there has to be bad. Where you could have this beautiful piece of medicine that you could save somebody with, you could have this horrible piece of work that you could destroy 100 people with. So ultimately, we're all God at that point, because at that point, you have a decision based on somebody's life being in your hands. What are you going to do with it? But just know that whatever you do, it's going to come back, you know? You know, amazing story. You're somebody that has been through so much. I would love you to give some words to, let's say, that young brother or sister or somebody that's out there that's looking for a confirmation or something to follow. You know, what words would you give to them based on Ifa, you know, about how Ifa could help them, whether they're incarcerated, whether they're in a difficult situation? You know, what would you tell them?
Me understanding what Ifa is, I'm going to just point blank, is aligning you with your destiny. Yes. This is your destiny. This is your path. I say this a lot, you know, when you angry or you feel anxiety or you feeling all these things, that's discord. I mean, if you have discord, you're going away from your destiny. Your destiny is a path that's supposed to make you feel fulfilled and happy. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the majority of us feel how? We feel depressed, we feel anxiety, we feel discord because we're going the opposite way of our destiny. This is what Ifa is, because a lot of people question Ifa. A lot of people think, oh, Ifa is witchcraft, and man, that is not what Ifa is. That's not, we're not going to sit down on our mat, drop our 𝗿𝗶𝗱𝗲, and go do dirty works on somebody. That's not what Ifa is. It's the total opposite. We're cleansing, we're cleaning, we're just messengers, basically.
Yeah.
We're messengers. We're delivering the message from Ifa to you. And where you take it from there is on you. So anybody that's trying to really get involved with Ifa, again, I'm 100% pro Ifa. I'm pro Ifa. So, it's helped me. I can only speak on what it's done for me. And I know how messy I could be or how messy I was. And everybody that knows me could say, yeah, that boy,
he's grown.
Messy.
Yeah.
Definitely grown. You know what I mean? He's definitely grown. How? What happened? Ifa happened. Not just Ifa. Ifa happened, and then me taking the time to study and practice Ifa. I mean, it's not just one thing. Ifa is just Ifa. You have to also change you. I mean, make the change that you need so you're compatible with Ifa. That's what 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗲𝗍 come in at.
Yeah.
Patience come in at.
And I think the greatest way to attain that 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗍, besides experience and hardship, is also really digesting the advice. A lot of people come in and say, wow, with this initiation or with this deity, all my issues are going to be resolved. And it does have benefits just from receiving it or the medicine, etc. But I think the most miraculous thing is when you're given this roadmap to life and you actually follow it. And great things usually happen. But that takes a lot of discipline. That takes a lot of self-sacrifice and growth to be able to say, I'm not going to do this, even though it feels good right now, to be able to have something that I know is going to make me feel even better.
I think a lot of people too, just to add, this is just from conversations and how I perceive people, they'll get in it for the power behind it.
Yeah, the ego trip,
Off rip, they think you're going to become powerful.
Yeah, the God complex.
Correct. I could do this and make this happen.
It's not that simple. It's not that simple. And, there's always repercussions, and, we have a consciousness, and Eshu's always watching. And I think, I'll never forget, when I went to do Ifa, my godfather said, Ifa is like a Lamborghini. If you don't know how to maneuver it, it will kill you. So that's always really stuck with me because, especially with the younger brothers who get in, they see some of the things that they may be able to accomplish and they want to delve into that immediately, or they want to make the emotional decision of, oh, I don't like this brother, I'm gonna send them something. That couldn't be any further from the truth or what we should be doing, because there's so many more productive things we could be doing. Unfortunately, in this context, I don't necessarily, I know who my friends are. I don't necessarily know who my enemies are, but I don't really focus on them because I maintain myself in a way of positivity and I protect me and my family. And I really just focus on progress because I notice that the more I progress, the further I leave those people behind. And distance is key when it comes to war. So, as long as we're working towards positivity and progress, we don't really have to think about our enemies because they're too busy thinking about us.
They got a job to do.
Yes, they do. And we have ours. Yeah.
Good job.
Iggy, what's next for you, sir?
Man, very simple, man.
Study.
Ifa study. You just sitting here today is what I want. Just to be able to feel that. I know you feel glorified when you speak on Ifa, and you just
it's a very humbling experience.
Yeah, bro. I want that humbleness for self.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm chasing. That's Iggy goals right now. To get closer to Ifa, get closer to my Guguns, get to help build my temple with my 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗏. That's just my walk. Help my woman, my kids, my family. But this first. I'm not just speaking that. I live that. Yeah. I could say I live that. I have a witness right here. I'm not just talking. I wake up in the morning. If I'm home. If I'm not home, I'm finna go to the temple. I'm there. I get back. I study. Or I'm just relaxing. I'm chilling. I'm out the way. So there's nothing else for me right now because I already know I have a 20-year journey ahead of me of studying Ifa. yeah, I got to buckle down and do what I got to do. You know,
that's beautiful. And you know, the quickest way to our goals is identifying them, and it all stems from Ifa, because Ifa will make us a better father, a better husband, a better son, a better friend, a better priest, a better everything. You know, it's been a whirlwind with us. You know, we met pretty recently, but the vibe was very strong from the beginning, just being from the same place.
I was so shocked, man. Like,
that was wild, right?
I got to tell that story, man.
Go ahead.
I walk inside.
I was incognito for real, man. I had the brown shorts on.
It's so crazy, man. I just been sitting at Ifa, like I say. I miss out on the conversations with my temple because of, you know, the barrier, the language barrier. So, you know, I've been like, yeah, man, just somebody, man, I could just talk to and hear these patakis and just hear the stories. And, you know, I don't know what made us go that day. We was about to go do something totally different.
Yeah.
You know, one of us was like, oh, let's just go get, I think I'm gonna go get some OB.
I think you were getting OB. Yeah, I was too,
so
ironically.
Give me some OB. And it's empty, and it's usually never empty.
Yeah.
And here you go. And I'm like, damn, I know this face. I know this face too good, but I was like shocked. And then I was like, I can't approach it.
I could have looked better.
Yeah.
I didn't have the hair comb that day.
And that's something you always talk about, Joseph, too, about being spotted.
I moved. Yeah, you know, it happens, man. But it was really refreshing, especially being back home. I was in Miami. I was doing a couple of things, and you know, when we interacted and things like that, anybody, and you could say this, anybody I interact with, anybody that will humble me enough to just say hi while I'm out and about, you know, I have nothing but time. And it was a very positive first interaction, and then just briefly hearing your story, seeing you, especially you being a part of 𝘃𝗺𝗃𝗃, and coming from Lukumi to 𝘃𝗺𝗃 and still being good with both sides. I thought it was, and I love these kind of interactions because it shows how brothers on both sides of the aisle, we can learn so much from each other, and we can relate so much, and we can fraternize so much. I think it's just a reminder that this is what needs to be happening, because there's so much we have to gain from each other, and we have to make up for a lot of lost time. So, you know, just interacting with you, your wife, you know, hearing about your family and all the good things you're doing. I can't say how grateful we are for you coming up and, you know, being a part of our program today and just sharing your experience and your time. And I think you are a great example for anybody that is trying to achieve what their destiny has in store for them.
You know, it's so crazy, bro, because we have our own little business in media. You know, it's impossible to get me to do this.
Yeah,
I don't do the camera. I don't. I don't.
You're amazing on it. That's the thing.
But I was so anxious even coming here. But I'm like, I can't miss this opportunity.
Oh man.
You know what I mean, I'm sitting next. Like, this is greatness. This is like me sitting close to Bob Marley and Bruce Lee.
Oh man.
Like real shit. Those two people. Those are my heroes.
Yeah,
you feel me? So just watching you and even today, man, it's like, yeah, this boy's no joke for real.
Appreciate you.
I know I keep saying it, but I just gotta give credit where it's due, bro.
I love you. I appreciate you, and
real love, man.
the first of many interactions, and
Definitely.
Thank you so much, and my regards, and we'll definitely keep in touch. And
I can't
it's
wait
gonna
till you
be a
come
great
back.
episode. Yeah, definitely, because I know he's got more in there.
All you gotta do is invite me, man.
Oh yeah, we definitely.
I get on
with
that
that,
so quick.
with the chicken and ribs, man. We were good. We were good. It's a selling point.
Yeah.
Then on me next time.
All right, so guess what, guys? It's that time again that everybody loves on the podcast.
Give it to me.
Is when we do the shout outs. So we do the shout outs to everybody who is a member
we go.
on our program. If you're wondering what that is, there's a little button that says join directly under this video. You click it. We have 3 separate tiers that are all offering separate perks. That could be live shows, call-ins, special discounts on merch, or other things. But essentially, you get a lot more content. All right, let's throw some shout outs here to VIPs. We got Alexis Hudson.
Thank you, Alexis.
We got 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗏.
Thank you very much.
We got Jesus Sanchez.
Oh yeah.
And we got a 15-monther here. We got Love 'em Aaron.
OG.
And we got, let's show some shout outs to our super fans. We got Lorena Acosta.
Thank you.
Yaninsley Diaz.
Oh,
and Joseph Gutierrez.
Oh, Mr. Joseph, thank you so much. And guys, for anybody that wants to get in contact with Iggy to possibly interact and, you know, fraternize, his information will be in the description. Couple closing notes before we go ahead and disconnect. botanicacandlesandmore.com is up and running for all your services and product needs. We do ship. If you can't catch us on YouTube, be sure to go on any of the major platforms to hear the audio cast. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Big thank you from all of us here at Our Roots Podcast. And until next time, see the light.
Share.